Okay, so chapter 5 is the next chapter. We just finished chapter 4. And chapter 5, as you can see here, we're going to look at some financial applications, I guess, of mathematics. Not many, though, very basic stuff. For instance, we're going to look at what simple interest is. Simple interest. That's what we're going to look at first. And you'll see it's actually pretty, well, simple. Okay? I don't know. Okay, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. But there's also compound interest, which is actually more based on exponential functions. And then there's this thing called the APY, the annual percentage yield. We will get to that. Definitely not today, but sometime next week. Okay. And this is just financial stuff. And this is just some terminology. The idea is if you're taking out a loan, okay, or you do some kind of investment, let's say, or you decide to just simply put money into an account, you know, at a bank or an investment, whatever, the initial starting amount is what's called the principal. So if you take out a loan from school, the initial amount that you take out is the principal. That's always the starting amount. Okay? I mean, with a loan, you're going to have to pay it back, but you pay interest on it. That's actually how banks and lenders make money. The interest, and also when you, I don't know if you guys have money in a bank account, but what happens is after a certain amount of time, through some math formula, what the banks will do is they'll take a certain percentage of the money in there and add that money to the account. And they're taking a percent of that principal, in other words. You know, if you take out a loan from someone, they might say you have to pay it back at a certain percent, like 8% or something, meaning you're paying back the loan, but you're also paying 8% of it. You know, that's how lenders make money. That percent they're calculating is called interest. Okay, it's just, again, a percentage of the principal. Now, it's possible that you could now, in a whole year, then you're going to have to pay interest, and that's what APR is. That's just the total interest you're going to have to pay in a year, APR. Okay, again, on the first slide, it's not the annual percentage yield. That's a little bit different. This is the annual percentage rate. Okay, it's how much interest you pay in a year. But first, let's get the simple interest. Simple interest, the idea is they calculate the interest once, and the interest value never changes. So each year, they're either adding on or you're paying the same amount of interest. And it really follows this formula. You know, I is how much interest there is. P sub 0, that's what this is. That's the principal, you know, the starting amount. Okay. R is the APR, the annual interest rate. And T is time. So for instance, if you're putting money into a bank account, okay, and let's say it's a simple interest, they'll calculate a certain percentage of the amount in there, the principal, they'll add that onto the account. But it's the same interest they're adding on each time. It's not like with compounding interest, we'll see where they keep recalculating the interest, but the interest changes. Here, you're adding on that same interest. You're like every year you might add on I, but that I is the same amount. So for instance, here's a hypothetical example. If you borrow, let's say, $1,000 from a friend, and you agree to repay it 5% simple interest for 3 years, right? So your friend would calculate the interest, right? And then you would have to pay off that interest each year. But notice you're paying the same interest, though. With compound, well, we'll see with compound interest, the interest value actually goes up a bit. Simple interest, it's the same interest. It's the same amount, that is. And you pay that off each year or each time period. Although since we're dealing with APR, that's going to be each year. But we'll see, though. Okay? So here's what happens. Again, you have the starting balance, right? This is the first year. This is how much your principal is. 5%, so as a decimal, we get 0.05. And then after year 1, you owe this. Then another year goes by, right? You're not going to start repaying it until 3 years is up. They add on the interest, the same interest again. And now the balance, how much you owe, is $1,100. And then one more time, you get $1,150. That's the total amount of the loan, right? So you're going to pay off $1,000, but you have to pay an extra $150. Okay? And that's how your lender or the banks and stuff would make money. But again, each year they're adding on the same interest. This is another example, although I don't want to get too far into this though. What I'm probably going to do